I've always loved bullfinches since I was a kid, and the males are just outstanding with their bright red chests. I had my first pair of bullfinches in 2019, which I picked up from the Stafford Spring Bird Show. They were a young pair of British native bullfinches. They were a little bit timid at the start. When I housed them in a big planted mixed aviary, they really were quite shy, but as soon as I gave them their own private aviary, they really calmed down. In that first year, they didn't show much interest in breeding. The only evidence of breeding I had from them was that the hen was carrying around roots, cocoa fibre and various grasses which she would eventually come to build a nest with. As it got later into the summer and the birds came in more breeding condition, they were a little bit territorial. One of the things was that I actually ended up losing the hen about halfway through the breeding season, which I don't think helped with the male bird at all. She passed away from coccidiosis when she lost a lot of weight and had really quite runny feces. This provided a really good learning opportunity for myself to how to manage and treat the disease, but the only problem was I couldn't work out exactly where it was from. I could only assume that their cage was clean, the birds were out of the way of wild birds and other birds, so it must have come from the previous owner. I've also had Siberian bullfinches. These are a much larger northern race of the European bullfinch. They were really quite friendly birds and much calmer than the natives. They bred quite readily too, with the hen in the first season having 3 nests of eggs. They did rear a couple of those chicks, but we did encounter some problems. The issue came in the form of a calcium deficiency, which is not something I had encountered at this point with many of my other birds. It was only those first round young birds that suffered, so what I did was offered them grit, crushed eggshell in their soft food and a liquid calcium supplement, and that soon fixed the issue. My bullfinches absolutely loved fresh fruit too. They would get it all times of year, but particularly in the winter months, trying to mimic in the wild what it's like for them as they're overwintering and feeding on many old and mature berries. Particular favourites of theirs were dried rowan berries, red currants, black currants, raspberries and apple. They could spend all day playing about with it, but just a word of advice, if you are going to feed them these red fruits in a white cage, then make sure you clean it because it goes everywhere. Over the past 6 years, I've had multiple pairs of the native bullfinches and the Siberian bullfinches, including mutations in the Siberians, which are absolutely gorgeous. I've bred both varieties in both cages and aviaries and thoroughly enjoyed keeping them. Sadly, I've not had any bullfinches for the past 2 years, and this is mainly due to the price increase, which means that I'm just unlikely to buy some at this moment in time whilst they're high, because I'd just rather have some other birds than pay an absolute fortune for them, which they now sadly sit at.